Some people believe Noah's Ark is on the top of Mount Ararat in Turkey. What's interesting is on Mount Ararat itself they found pillow lava, which is a unique formation that occurs only when molten lava emerges from the earth below water, and they've also found salt crystals on Mount Ararat which could only be formed underwater. Is there any written evidence for a worldwide flood? Well, the flood account is found on Babylonian, Akkadian, and Sumerian cuneiform tablets, and these all date back to about 700 BC. In fact, a study of universal flood traditions reveals that there are over 200 accounts in every civilization and culture around the world, including the Inca and Aztec cultures. They've gone back to many of these ancient civilizations and found that they're very advanced, having things like natural ventilation, air conditioning. You could go back to Egypt and find that they knew how to make batteries and generate electricity.
People used that for electroplating, didn't they?
Yes, electroplated artifacts they found. The size of the ark, they took a model of the ark and they tested in marine laboratories, and they duplicated 200-foot tidal waves, and they found that the ark was not only seaworthy but extraordinarily stable. And during World War II, the USS New Mexico and Oregon were built on the same proportions as Noah's Ark, 6 times longer than it is wide. And someone says that how could you get all the animals on the ark? And well, first of all, you take the very smallest animals. Dr. Kenneth E. Bell, professor of biology, says, quote, each family of creatures on earth have a single pair of ancestors. He says there are over 300 varieties of dogs in the world today, but they all have a single common ancestor. And he says that there would have been ample room to load ancestors of all the species we know of today, with room left over for Noah's family, food, and supply. And due to the darkness, due to the storm above, the animals would probably eat less, sleep more, and be in a state of hibernation. Many hundreds of people have claimed to see the Noah's Ark on top of Mount Ararat. One man was Fernand Navarra, a French demolition expert, and he brought back wood that he claimed is from Mount Ararat. And the interesting thing is Mount Ararat is a totally treeless volcano peak, and they found that the wood he brought back doesn't grow near Mount Ararat. In fact, there's not a forest within 300 miles of the mountain. Jim Irwin was a former astronaut, and he took a very interesting picture when he was traveling with a Dutch TV crew, and they took this amazing photograph, and you can see to the left what they believe to be Noah's Ark. A French spot satellite identified a 200-foot piece of wooden object, 86 feet wide, extending over a crevasse, all this being under 60 feet of ice and snow. And so someone would say, how come someone just doesn't go on top of Mount Ararat and get the Ark? Well, the problem is that climbers have claimed that Mount Ararat is one of the hardest mountains to climb, maybe the hardest, and the Ark is covered with ice, so you could walk right on top of it or over it and not know it's there. And when the Turkish government grants research permits, it's for the south side of Mount Ararat. Well, the Ark is believed to be on the north side, and people caught on the north side are usually arrested. And it's also, the mountain's too high and too treacherous to land a helicopter expedition. And in the ongoing battle between the Turkish government and the soldiers there, 6,000 people have died on the slopes of Ararat during the 1990s. Many Bible stories are proving themselves to be true. The walls of Jericho, for example, the Bible says that those walls fell literally straight down. And they've examined these walls, and the walls are not pushed inward, but the walls fell straight down as if the earth opened up underneath them. They literally dropped. Sodom and Gomorrah, destroyed by God for homosexuality and other sins of the flesh. These are pictures of where Sodom and Gomorrah used to be located. And they found, they look very clearly, they look like cities. And they found that substances burned with sulfur or brimstone have a remaining ash that is heavier than the initial unburned substance. That is why probably these cities have been able to remain all these 3,900 years. And they found that these cities have been burned at 4,000 to 5,000 degrees. And the Bible tells us that it rained fire and brimstone upon the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. And you can go over there and you can see millions of chunks of little balls of sulfur all over the place. And if you look up the definition of the word brimstone in the dictionary, it means sulfur. God asked for the circumcision in Genesis 17 verses 10 through 12. He asked for the circumcision to be performed on the 8th day, not the 5th or the 4th day, but the 8th day. And they've only found recently that vitamin K, which clots the blood, is at its peak on the 8th day. And so it would be the safest time to perform that kind of operation. In 1947, in a cave in a cliff on the west side of the Dead Sea, they found several large jars containing leather scrolls. These were the Dead Sea Scrolls. They had been carefully sealed and preserved in their jars for over 1900 years. Coins found inside the jars and paleographers date the scrolls at 125 BC. Until that time, the earliest biblical manuscripts were about 900 AD. The Isaiah scroll, about 125 BC, matched precisely with the text of Isaiah dated in 916 AD. That's 1,000 years of copy after copy, translation after translation with complete accuracy. And this proves that the prophecies fulfilled by Jesus were written before he came to earth and not after. And Isaiah and the rest of the Old Testament have a lot to say about the first coming of the Messiah. They said that he would be born of a virgin, that he'd be